Well, I was just up the wood, collecting another bit of wood for today's project. Oh, I found this. It's been dead for a while, by the looks of it. There's not much holding that up, is there? Think I'll be able to make a few bowls out of that? I reckon so. Lovely. How's it going, folks? Welcome back to the channel. Hello to all my new subscribers. Thanks for subscribing. So today on the lathe we have an elm stump. That was what I was doing up the wood, picking up a new stump. It was quite a big stump, but I had to get quite deep into it to find decent wood, so we ended up with a blank that was about 14 inches across. Pretty out of balance to start with, and we're turning at 800 RPM. So I wanted to start with a vaguely Roman sort of shape, a curved rim. It wasn't long before we turned it up to 1400 RPM. Tool rest is working well at this point. I managed to get it nice and close to the piece. So you can see there I've put the foot on, and I'm just getting ready to put the mortise in. Some parts of this wood were really hard and others were really soft, so it wasn't the easiest thing to turn. And sanded it all the way up to 800 grit. So I use my sanding paste and some shine juice to finish it off. So today on the channel we're featuring the work of John Hooten. He's from Iowa in the United States, and he's turned this piece of black walnut burl. A very interesting shape he's got there. Be interested to see what the piece looked like before we started turning on that one. Must have been an interesting burl. Thanks very much for sending it in. If you want to be featured on the channel, you can send your images to willmakeseverything@gmail.com. And we're on to the hollowing. Again, turning at 1400 RPM. Quite a laborious process hollowing this out. The chisel kept going dull on me sort of every couple of minutes. Now there are a couple of little bark inclusions on the rim, and I actually found I was cutting through a few stones on the way down. That may have been a reason my chisel was going so dull. I even tried it with the carbide, as you can see there, but not even that was touching it properly. I went back to the bowl gouge. So this is the deepest bowl that I've ever put on the back of the lathe, and you'll see in a minute I ran into a couple of problems. I made this tool rest yesterday, but it will not fit inside that 12-inch bowl. So I was getting it as close as I could and thinning down the outer wall as much as possible to get as much of the tool rest in there as I could. But I still ended up with a lot of overhang in the centre of the bowl. So you can see the tool rest is just inside the bowl, but that's as far as I could get it. So I'm going to have to make another tool rest, aren't I? So this bowl in total is 5.5 inches tall, 12 inches wide, and by the time I was finished hollowing, the tape measure was reading 4.5 inches to the bottom of the bowl, which meant that I ended up with an inch of thickness on the base, which I didn't really want, but I didn't dare hollow any deeper with the amount of overhang I was having. So that's what we ended up with. The walls are about 1/4 of an inch to 1/2 an inch thick, gradiating downwards. I've actually got to modify the lathe the way that tool post fits on. I've got to extend it outwards, hopefully by about 3 inches, so I can get my tool rest in there, and so I can put slightly bigger pieces on the back of the lathe. So once again we sanded all the way up to 800 grit. Then we put some sanding paste on and finished it off with shine juice. Some beautiful marking in this piece. So there we are, all finished off. I'll leave you as ever with the glamour shots. Thanks everyone for following along and for subscribing, and we'll see you on tomorrow's video. Cheers. Just thought I'd show you this. This is my bird feeder I made a couple of years ago when I started turning on the old lathe, and I made all these little bowls to put bird food in on this big elm tree root. So these were the first bowls I ever turned. And now it's a bit more of a garden ornament than anything else. But it did used to have bird feeders hanging off it and birds flying around it. It's quite a cool thing.